Okay. So my name is Devin Currell. I will be the moderator this evening. We have Megan Reed, who is the incumbent for the school board, and Liz Fredericks from West Windsor. We've got a few questions here. I think we'll start with introduce yourself and explain why you are interested in serving on the school board. Megan, would you like to start?
Yeah, I can start. So my name is Megan Reed. I am a Windsor resident. I've lived here for, I think, 15 years now. I live here with my husband and my 10-year-old daughter. So I've been on the school board for, this will be for 3 years. My first, it was a special situation where I was appointed. And at that point, I decided that I wanted to run for the board because I had questions. I didn't really understand what it was, and to be judgmental and to not know what was going on. I felt like I needed to be a part of it. So I put my name in and decided to be a part of it. And then I ran for the rest of the 2 years. Deciding to run again, I decided that I wanted to continue the work that I have been doing and the improvements we're making with the board in being able to support the school.
Thank you. And Liz, same question.
I'm Liz Frederick. I'm from West Windsor. I have 3 kids currently in 3 schools across our SU. I have been involved in our school system for 9 years now. And in that time, I've seen a lot of really great things in our school district, and I've seen a lot of things that I think could use improvement. I have brought a lot of issues to our administrators, to our school board in the past. And I regularly attend and watch the meetings. I just felt like it was a time for me to put some energy into trying to help with solutions instead of just bringing up issues. And I also really want to support the community. And I feel like this is a good place for me to put my time and my energy and the skills that I have. I have been a member of SKIP in our town. I am just joining the Windsor PTO now. And also I work and volunteer within my community. So I'm really plugged into both the school community and the not school community. So I feel like that gives me an opportunity to really get to know different perspectives, not just the parent perspective, and gives me a lot of practice with, dealing with different perspectives. And I'm hoping that I can bring that to the school board and be an asset.
Excellent.
Brett, you did great.
Next question. I think I'll go with, what are the current issues and challenges facing our school district? Would either of you like to go first on that?
I don't mind going first.
Okay. Megan, go ahead.
Okay. So some of the challenges are the rising cost of health insurance. It is now being negotiated at the state level, which is not beneficial to us. Other challenges, we really have not had in Vermont a efficient Secretary of Education. Like, the whole system hasn't really been working well. So I believe that that is a challenge. So it's creating really hard for us to balance our budgets and make things really work for us. It's hard to, as you've seen in the budget this year, we've had to make some cuts, and that is all due to a lot of the rising cost.
Great, thank you. And same question for you, Liz, current issues?
I would second what Megan said. Budget's always an issue. I did serve on the budget advisory committee, which was mostly just a learning experience. We didn't really advise very much, but I was able to see how the ballooning cost of healthcare is really affecting the school's ability to put forth a budget reflecting all the values that we want to reflect. So I think that's going to be an ongoing issue. I think that there is a real property tax crisis that people are feeling, and trying to be sensitive to that and also provide the opportunities that our kids need is going to be the number one challenge. I think, outside of that, I would add, I think we have a long way to go with improving our merger between the two towns. And I think we could utilize our resources better, and bring the towns together more, which was kind of the design with the merger with Act 46. So I think that's going to be a challenge that I would like to tackle.
All right, very good answer. So what is your vision for education in this community? And I'll have Liz take the first on this one.
So my kids all learn very differently and they all experience school very differently. And they're all currently in different schools right now. So I feel like it's given me some insight into how our school district serves different types of students. Not all of them, but the 3 types that I have. And I want to make sure that all our students are having their needs met. And that academically focused students are able to be challenged, and that, we are able to offer competitive education. From our perspective in West Windsor, I mentioned this in the last question, we have this merger, and I think a lot of parents in my town frequently express that they feel very disconnected from the Windsor schools and don't know a lot about the schools going in. And, so when I think about education in our district, I really think of, community and better communication, and, resource sharing and just being really intelligent about what we do with the resources we have. And overall, I just hope that we create an atmosphere where when kids graduate, they look back at their education and they say, oh, this was worth it. This had value to me. This prepared me for the world. So that's where my priorities are.
All right. And Megan, your vision for education.
So mine is similar. I agree that every child has unique learning abilities. And so I really think that growth in inclusion, I'm hoping that we can continue supporting our administration in being able to provide the growth and inclusion of different activities and learning styles to be able to support all students. So that's what I hope.
Great. Since you mentioned inclusion, I'll go to the next question. How would you address issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion in our district? Liz, would you like to start?
Sure. This, is a hot button issue sometimes, but, my feeling on the topic of diversity, equity, and inclusion is that it boils down to all students should be respected at school and all students should feel safe at school. I don't think that we meet that goal enough in our district, and throughout the state. I think, when we're talking about this, bullying prevention needs to be part of this. I think, a lot of people feel that these conversations are a distraction from learning. And, sometimes they are a distraction from learning when there's bullying going on and there's HHB investigations going on. There's all kinds of issues that I've seen in our district. But the fact of the matter is that kids that aren't feeling safe in school, that aren't feeling connected in school are not learning. And it's our responsibility to make sure that all of the kids in our district are able to learn. So, throughout my years, having kids in school, I unfortunately have seen a lot of these issues. It is what brought me to the board advocating for my own child in the first place. It's, what got me involved in this whole process. I think, we often get bogged down with with language and policies and the politics of DEI. But as a parent, I see a disconnect between our policies sometimes and what kids are actually experiencing in school. And I think that disconnect is sometimes happening because of accountability and discipline, not being where it needs to be. I think, it's really important when dealing with these topics that we understand that what we as adults think is working is not necessarily how our youth is experiencing it. So, I would like to see us work a lot on prevention, which to me is just creating a culture of respect in our schools. And I think that's really what the core of equity inclusion is about, right? Like, it's not about everyone needs to think the same. It's about everyone needs to respect everybody else, and we need to have a safe learning environment. And I think it's really important. And I think adults in the community also need to do better at modeling this, frankly. So, to the heart of the question, when there's issues that arise, I think our role as board members is to make sure that, number one, we're protecting kids. Number two, that our administrators are doing their jobs, and that we're following the law. There's very clear laws on diversity, equity, inclusion. We need to make sure that, all those boxes are checked, and, we're in the position to do so, and it's our responsibility.
All right, excellent. And Megan?
So I say to continue to support the administration in their efforts to create a safe and inclusive environment, but for all students. And I also think it is asking who is being left out when we're reviewing policies, curriculum, and decisions that are being made.
All right. What are the advantages and disadvantages of the governor's district consolidation plan? Megan, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. I think this is sort of a hard one. Like, I think we live in such a rural area in a state where things are really spread out. So we do have small schools. We have things that need to be looked at. But I think this has been moving really quickly in a way that doesn't seem very thoughtful. And it really feels like we're really at risk of losing that sense of community connection and the local identity that our districts have right now. And I really worry about what that's going to do for our towns and communities.
Okay. And Liz, same question.
Yeah, I'll second what Megan said on that. I think that the governor's plan has some potential to do some real damage to small towns. For towns like Windsor and West Windsor, our schools are ingrained in our community, and this plan will ultimately close schools the way it's ran, and that will have lasting impacts on towns. The governor's own advisory board on this didn't see that it saved any money. So I feel like this is another Band-Aid solution and not addressing any of the root causes of our problems, which is healthcare costs, number one, which is negotiated at the state level, and I think being negotiated poorly. And, housing and jobs and things that bring families into Vermont. I mean, we don't have enough kids in the schools, which is what's driving up our per pupil cost. And this doesn't address any of those problems. I also think that there's a lack of transparency about the education fund. There are a lot of things that come out of our education fund that are not education, not paying for K through 12 buildings and education of our kids. And, I feel like the schools are kind of becoming a scapegoat. So I would say overall, I don't see a lot of advantages to the plan. I do think that we should be consolidating resources. I think we should be looking into cost sharing. I think we're one of the only states that doesn't do cost sharing for curriculums. I could be wrong about that, but I think we need to look into that more. We need to, whether it's just our small district or, our whole SU or, even across the state where we can share costs and share negotiations. I think that's something good that's come out of these discussions.
Right. And that brings us to our last scheduled question. What attributes and behaviors are essential for school board members? Megan.
So I think a commitment to the community, especially, as I said, like in our state, in Vermont, in our small communities, really having that commitment of community is important. Integrity and honesty, we don't always get it right. And there are times where we have to be honest that we don't get it right. And we have to listen. So I also think it's being able to listen and be open-minded, as our community members and other people on the board may not have the same opinions as us. And it really is important to be able to take that in and not just be reactive.
Liz?
Yeah, I think I would start with respect. I think it's extremely important that we respect all of our community. We respect each other on the board. We model it for our students. I think, being on the board, we're going to get a lot of people who don't agree with us, who are upset. I know that as a parent, I went to the board upset with the board, with the school system, and I received respect. And, I think it's essential that we give everyone respect, regardless of what state they're in. I also think a willingness to listen and a willingness to change your mind, because we're all going to come with opinions and experiences, but it's our job to leave that at the door and serve our community. And sometimes that's going to mean making decisions that we don't really like, but that is what's best for the community. And then I think passion is important, passion for the job, because, I realize going into this that this is going to be a thankless job in a lot of ways. But if we're not passionate and trying our hardest, we really shouldn't be doing the job. And then I would agree, integrity. I think integrity is probably the most important thing for me. It's important in my life. I pride myself on my integrity. And when I deal with people, I, really expect them to have integrity. So that would sum it up for me.
Right, thank you. Do we have any questions from the audience? No questions. What about online? If you have any questions and you're watching online, you can type them in the chat. All right, I'll call it then. Yeah, just okay, so from Elizabeth Burrows, she asks, what are you most looking forward to? Either one of you want to take that one first, or?
Sure. Well, I'm going into this kind of blind. I don't really have, I'm sure there's a lot that I don't know.
Yeah, as a board member.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to as a board member?
I'm looking forward to being able to affect change and offer support.
And Megan?
I am looking forward to working with Liz as a board member, and having her as part of our team, I think is going to be really exciting and meaningful over the next 3 years.
Excellent. And one last time for the folks online. Closing remarks?
Thank you, Devin, Paula, and John for being here and doing this with us. I know I get really nervous. Sorry, but I appreciate being able to be given this space to speak. So thank you.
Yeah, I'll say the same. Thank you. Everyone was really nice. I do not like public speaking. So I was very nervous for this tonight, and you all look great.
Super. Well, thank you both for being here and good luck.
Thank you.